Hi everyone, good evening and welcome again, Ritesh Jain sir, founder at Pinetree Macro and NRIZEN and a keen micro trend observer, someone who we look up to, and definitely the geopolitics and the global happenings around the corner definitely demanded one session. There were many requests coming from the people within circle. So thank you so much, Ritesh sir, for agreeing doing this on a short notice.
Thanks, Prince.
So, sir, quick question. I mean, has do you buy that statement the war has gone beyond U.S. and Israel, and if rightly so, where it is headed in your view?
So that's a very difficult question. Nobody knows where it is headed. It's not that we have a template of this has happened in the past and this will happen again. I don't even remember last time Strait of Hormuz was closed. There was 20 million barrels of oil which passes through that out of 100 million barrels of oil traded on a daily basis, supplied on a daily basis, basically. So 20% of the supply. So I have absolutely no idea where it is headed. Having said that thing, how will you know where it is headed, or what is the best way of knowing where it is headed is just look at the oil prices. Now, if oil prices continue to rise, then markets are the best mechanism of pricing or discounting the future, except for US equity markets, which I believe are getting managed on a minute to minute basis. Every other market, whether it is US bonds, US high yield debt, oil prices, all three of them are telling me that this war is not going as per what the US narrative is telling you. Never look at the narratives. Iranians have their own narratives, US has its own narrative, Middle East countries would have their own narrative. You will have influencers out of Dubai which have doubled, their production of the new YouTube influencer videos and all. I don't care about any of those things. Oil is telling me this war is headed in the wrong direction.
Right. And sir, in line with the oil prices or maybe the kind of supply which goes from that strait, so what do you think its impact on different countries and specifically China? If you have some views, would appreciate that.
Actually, it is problematic for a lot of countries. Now, first of all, you have to realize that oil is priced at the margin. Every commodity is actually priced at the margin. It's not that 99 million barrels of oil decide the price of oil. Actually, it is the last 1 million barrels extra supply or extra demand which prices the entire 99 million barrels. So look at it this way, just the last 1 million barrels demand and supply. That's why we keep on talking about looking at IEA numbers. Okay, we have a 2 million barrels extra supply or 2 million barrels extra demand, and it prices the remaining 100 million barrels. That is how it is always done in any commodity. Now, Japan, South Korea, India, 50 or 60% of their oil has to be passing through Gulf. You've asked me about China. The best part about China, which China has done over a period of time, China has it has actually have a very large strategic petroleum reserves. Its starting point on inflation is very low. So if you ask me today, which is the country which is most impacted among all these three things, all these four countries, if I were to name four countries for you, India, South Korea, Japan, and China, I would put China at the bottom, not at the top. So your worry on China should be the last in the pecking order of these four countries. And possibly India will be on the top, and after that Japan, after that South Korea, and after that you can think about China.
And one more news was doing around on the food shortage, owing to the fertilizer disruption. So, what's your view on that?
Absolutely. Everybody should read Craig Tindley. His Craig, Craigtindale. His Substack, it is there on Twitter also. 2 days back he has posted. So I am not going to talk about that thing again, but you should know about it is not about urea. It is not about, so there is so many chemicals. Actually, everything you touch around you is a derivative of oil. Everything you touch around you. So this has a cascading impact even beyond oil in lot of different commodities, lot of different imports without which lot of things will close down. So you already have force majeure at lot of urea plants and in I think in India also, even in Gulf also you have started to have that thing. So you need to look at the second and the third derivative impact. We are only focused about oil, but it could have actually a cascading impact on lot of different commodities or day-to-day necessities which you are so used to getting it so easily in front of you simply because the global trade and commerce used to work beautifully just in time. So now you need to be, start looking at all those things which might not be so easily available, or you'll come to know the value derived or the value, the money, the effort being put to put those things in front of you. So I strongly suggest everybody should read that Craig Tingley's, Substack or the Twitter post. Just 2 days back he's posted.
And sir, on the title, who is winning the war? So, I mean, obviously we can have some pointers for both the sides, but again, what's your
Iran is
assessment?
winning the war. Iran is winning the war as of today. Oil prices is telling me Iran is winning the war. When I say Iran is winning the war, not means in literal sense. They they can do only one thing, and which is put pain, increase the pain threshold for rest of the world. Now, let me give you some example what has happened. Within the first 2 days of this war, oil opened higher, then collapsed. Collapse means it went down by $5-6. Market was very clear. This war is over in the first 2 days. Just very clear. And that's why the US equity markets did not, went negative. In fact, on the contrary, rest of the world assets were sold to buy US assets because US is having 14 million barrels of oil. They are oil self-sufficient. On top of that thing, they have natural gas. So anything which is made in US, so US natural gas is $3 per MMBTU. Europe is $20 per MMBTU. So US was painted as a winner. Then after that, we realize what has happened in Middle East. Now, I'm just quoting Colonel Douglas McGregor over here. He says all the military bases, US military bases in Middle East are no more functioning. They have been decimated. US military bases. That's what he's talking about it. Now let me give you the second and the third derivative. US debt to GDP is 130% debt to GDP. So gasoline prices are up 16% since January lows, or 45 cents per gallon in US. This cost American consumers $180 million per day, or 65 billion annualized. This is almost 65% of all the tax windfall Americans were supposed to have this year. I can tell you that, in my view, a 2700-year-old civilization of Persia will be able to dig its feet, continue doing this thing, but Americans cannot continue beyond 2-3 weeks. I can assure you that thing. American consumers, they will lose the midterm. Very clearly they will lose the midterm. So Americans need off-ramp as much as maybe Iranian. And if you were to put your, boots on the ground, that's a separate thing altogether. But then unlike the rest of the Gulf countries, which do not have mountains around them and it's just barren land, Iran on all the side is actually protected by big mountains. So you should actually look at, there is a very good series on Apple, Tehran. It is just did the last one yesterday, but it's a very nice one just explaining you how Iran is. So I would say at this point of time, if oil prices are high, Iran is winning the war.
And sir, you said India is on the top to be getting the most impacted. What are few pointers? I mean, to say that statement? Because the news are doing round that Russia will
Yes, they will
support.
do. Absolutely, they will do. But every $10 is $15 billion of the problem which you have on current account deficit. On top of that thing, last 2 years, whatever oil windfall we got, let's say India got a lot of oil windfall. Do you agree with me with getting cheap Russian crude also? Right? All that thing was frittered away in the form of giving subsidies, handouts, and all these what you get something schemes like Ladli Behan Yojana. Now, we did not come to know the negative impact of all these subsidies, revenue expenditure being done by Government of India because it was all funded by cheap crude, but Indians were paying higher price for that crude. So the difference was paid out in the form of giving handouts. That has happened. That has become a very big part of the budget since Lok Sabha election. And I am not getting into the politics behind whether it is good or bad. Now, the problem is there is no fiscal space left. You have a current account deficit problem. Now, I had written a tweet 6 months back that RBI might need to tighten the liquidity, but I am thinking other way. India's inflation is too low. Is it possible that RBI does not tighten the liquidity, allow dollar rupee to find its own way? All the pressure comes on dollar rupee. They don't tighten the liquidity. Inflation starts rising. Your real GDP is around 6%. Inflation goes to 4% from 1.5% to 2%, and you have a nominal GDP of 10%. That's a best case scenario. But for that, oil has to stop around $90. You are already $20 billion in hole for oil at $90 currently from the $75 just 2 weeks back. So we have this problem building, but the problem is not as acute as it was few years back when India used to have huge amount. Already the starting point of inflation in India used to be 4-5% whenever we had this problem of oil price spike. Now the starting point of inflation is 1.5%. So I'm just saying there is a little bit more leeway, but if the longer the oil prices remain at at level, the longer Strait of Hormuz is closed. People say there is a way around that thing. Yes, there is a way around that thing. But whatever journey used to take 2 to 4 weeks will take a 8 weeks journey. On top of that thing, that means you require double number of ships to do the same kind of work what it was doing earlier. And there is not enough ships in the world. So I'm just grappling with the situation over here. I'm just saying that it is not straight cut and paste. On the margin, it is negative to start with at 90, but beyond that thing, it can actually become really bad.
So, sir, do you think Russia has any role to play in this ongoing situation, or
Russia is the winner, no, in front of you. That is a reality. That they are the winner in front of you. That their crude oil will be able to, it will be more acceptable in rest of the world. And that is what US government, as soon as the US government announced that we are giving 30-day waiver, I realized one thing very clearly. This war is not coming to end tomorrow. Otherwise, you will not allow a 30-day waiver. If this war was clear cut, we are going in and we are just 3 days, we are hammering in, it is done, we are getting out, then then they would not have given a 30-day waiver.
right? So, a couple of questions on gold and silver, and some are asking like in these uncertain times they are not rallying. So, any
They rallied
thoughts?
before. They actually rallied before. Then, the last thing which we had not rallied, which I had written about in November, the one thing which was very cheap was oil. They had actually rallied. And what happened on the first 2-3 days is people sell what they can sell where they have made money. And that's why you had a significant fall in gold and silver because it had rallied before. It's a very good thing what you are seeing in front of you on gold and silver, that they're consolidating. So I believe that maybe for the time being, and one more thing happened in the first 2 days of this war. Market made a call that America has won this war. America has the cheapest cost of energy. America is energy self-sufficient. And the trade which was going for last 18 months of short US going long rest of the world, which includes Taiwan, South Korea, China, India, not India, but other part of the world, that trade reversed in the first 2, 3 days. And that's why in that trade, gold and silver were hit dramatically. I believe now you will find that gold and silver will stabilize at current levels. But yes, it is bad for profitability of gold and silver miners, whose 25% of all the cost is input cost is energy. Anybody's input cost, which is energy, is in a deep trouble, which includes gold and silver miners also. So you could see some problem on the gold and silver miners' profitability, but I am not at all concerned. It's a very healthy, consolidation which is going on in gold and silver, in my view.
Right. So Narayan, you can quickly unmute and ask your pointed question, please.
Hi Ritesh. I just have a small question. Now, for with the inflation picking up with the crude prices, LNG prices jumping across all, I'm sorry, all the countries, when do you really think that Europe and Japan will start dumping the US Treasury? Because I saw as soon as this war started and the crude started to spike up above $80, I saw a huge spike in the yields in the European bond market, like in
Yeah,
France, Japan,
yeah.
and US. So that's the question, yeah.
So let me tell you, behind the scenes, there is somebody buying these treasuries. Somebody buying these treasuries. So Japan was given swap lines, and they have actually said, openly they said, we were discussing about intervention in the market. So the current US Treasury Secretary was actually a big trader at his time. I can see when I watch the market very closely, I realize a footprint of somebody who's controlling the volatility, who's controlling the narrative, who's controlling the bond yields. Now, in short term, everything can be controlled. In fact, I'm actually seeing where at a given point of time, even gold is hit at a given point, exactly at the same point of time. This is not done by an ordinary entity. We always knew that, and we have read about it, there was a plunge protection team. And what better time than today to deploy plunge protection team? I can assure you, Japanese will not be selling US bonds because US will give them the swap lines to Japan. And that swap lines will cover for any losses which Japan might have. Europe, I am not so sure who's going to do it. But then isn't it strange that the third and the fourth largest buyer of US treasuries are Cayman Island with 56,000 people and a country known as UK, which is already having a very large current account deficit?
Wow, I didn't know this. Like, okay, because I thought China was dumping, but I didn't know that. Because I thought like
China
Europe will
started
also
dumping
start.
in 2013. And the
Okay,
reason they started dumping was after 2008-9, when the Lehman crash happened, IMF and countries like IMF, which tells institutions like IMF tells countries when they want a bailout that you have to cut spending, you have to do this, you have to do that. Americans said bullshit. We are not going to do anything. We are going to increase our spending. So the rules which were there for rest of the world, including India, when India wanted an IMF bailout, that rules never applied for US. China realized that thing. China said, my value of money, the value of these bonds is going to go down. They started dumping those bonds in 2013 itself.
So Ritesh, both the US and the Iran are struggling to find a middle path. Is it the right assumption, or
There is no middle path.
you?
What do you want? You want a regime change? What do you want? Do you know the objective of US military? Every day they keep on changing their objective. What is your objective? How can you have a regime change without boots on ground? Who will do boots on ground? Who will do boots on ground? You wanted to hit their nuclear facility. You just did it 6 months back. Then that means that was wrong. So what is your objective? Look, Iranians will dig in. Think about a $40,000 Shahid drone. Even if you have, let's say there is a civil war, you break the countries, there is a civil war. There are so many factions, there would be so many factions in that country fighting for, supremacy. So the oil production is gone. On top of that thing, if one of them flies a Shahid drone into Strait of Hormuz in a particular, when Strait of Hormuz, let's say, opens, one of them flies a $40,000 Shahid drone in, when you can put drones and missiles in, countries having all these interceptors and all, when you can do it, what stops you from doing it in this Strait of Hormuz? You've created a mess out of it now. And you kill their sailors now in high seas. Listen to their foreign minister. So when President Trump is saying, they are begging with me, the oil prices is telling you the truth. Don't look at equity markets. They are managing it. Every Friday, they try to ramp up the market. Every Friday, as soon as the Europe closes, there is a ramp up in the market, they hit the volatility. So they're effectively managing the equity markets. I can assure you that thing. But look at any other market, you find that there is a stress coming in other markets. So it is exactly happened like 2020 COVID. Market was saying, oh, there is no problem. Look at the equity markets. But under the surface, all the other different markets were giving a stress signal. At this point of time, it is giving me a stress signal. Will I change my view? Yes, I can change my view. At this point of time, I'm very cautious. And the future of warfare changed with Houthis. It's no more fighter jets. It's actually drones and missiles. You saw it in Operation Sindoor, you saw it with Houthi, and you're seeing it now.
Right. So in the near future, we are not seeing any concrete solution to what has
Actually,
just
America
started
needs
out.
an off-ramp. They lose the midterms. What is the point of fighting this war if you lose the midterms? So you need that off-ramp in 15, 20 days. Americans need it. American can actually do taco again by saying, we've achieved our objective, whatever that objective is, nobody knows about it. We've achieved the objective and we are going back. As it is, you are not left with any, missiles and all, Tom Hawk missiles, because you've utilized 90% of them. You listen to some of the interviews of the defense personals, you are finding that, they burned down the entire inventories down. They need the inventories from South Korea.
So one question from Fiaz is can this crisis become bigger than Lehman crisis?
Oil is a bigger problem. I agree with you. Can it? Yes, it can. Can I visualize it? Can I, I don't know about it. But yes, it can. Where will I start getting worried? I think I will start getting worried. I'm already cautious. Worry part where you say, now it has got out of hand. It has not got out of hand. There is still a lot of ifs and buts. Maybe $100, $110. Who knows about it? The way oil has risen today morning, they were supposed to, on a Wednesday evening, they were supposed to announce something, or they said effectively, we will manage the markets to bring the oil prices lower. But just look at the Brent crude oil, $91.5. I'm getting worried. I'm cautious.
Two
I'll get
quick
worried.
questions here. Yeah, two quick questions before we close. So Bharat is asking, is this war a pivot point for petrodollar?
Yes, absolutely yes. There are so one more nail in the coffin. This is one more nail in the coffin, actually. There was a very clear agreement of petrodollar. Look, you will take care of our security. And whatever cash surpluses we have, we will invest in your country. That was a very beautiful arrangement. There is nothing wrong with that arrangement. Now, all these countries are saying, you reneged on that thing. You never provided us the protection we needed, but we invested money in you. Now look at the second derivative. Let's say I am wrong. But wouldn't all these countries need to spend on their defense and rebuild their economies again? If they want to invite, foreigners to come and stay in that, whether it is UAE, Saudi Arabia, which is trying to have NEOM city and all, you will need to spend money. Where will the money come from? The money will come from selling US assets only. Exactly. So you gave everything you had to Israel, but we spend more money. When we needed you, where were you? And tomorrow, one of the desalination plant goes in one of those, GCC countries, na, you'll have a serious problem. They've not hit the desalination plant. Till now, they have only touched US bases. They have such a good intel or such good imagery. I do not know how they have, but they have done that only as of now. Iranians. You will not hear any of this thing in mainstream media. Only oil is telling you the truth.
So one last question. So basically, Rohit is asking, can Trump use this war to cancel the midterm elections and then solve the debt issue, which Ritesh has been mentioning in his podcast?
I don't know about that. There are already rumors of on the 250th anniversary of United States, I think July 4th, that they will issue a 50-year or a 100-year bond, half of their redeemable in gold. There are already rumors about it. Judy Shelton is already on record to say that thing. Judy Shelton was advisor to President Trump that they will, whatever is the increased requirement of debt, on July 4th, we will issue our first 100-year, 50-year debt, half of it redeemable or some part of it redeemable in gold. Anything is possible in today's world. Look, this war was not thought through properly because 3 days I'm listening to three different, officials from United States government, all three different people talking about different objectives. This is not. So anything is possible. Honestly, anything is possible. Can they cancel the midterm? Who knows about it?
Perfect. So US, I mean, fair to assume that US will be the last to get impacted on this
Actually,
oil
yes.
thing
Yes.
in
Actually,
comparison.
if you look at it, if today you want chemicals, then US is having $3 per MMBTU. You have decimated the Europeans. So any country with cheap and reliable energy is the winner. And actually, there are only two of them, Russia and US. There is no third country in the world. To some extent, China, but still, they're massively dependent upon energy. I do not know how many days of SPR they have, but it seems they were preparing for this thing. Pakistan fuel will be over by Sunday. Pakistan does not have anything outside of next 2 days. Sorry, Sunday is tomorrow. So only two countries are the winner. That's a sad reality.
Right. Let's hope everything settle down soon. And but again, as anybody's guess.
Yeah, the thing
Thank you
is
so
prepare
much.
for the worst. That's the only thing. No,
So when we say worse, Ritesh, the World War III is also one of the possibility in that
no,
case.
no, no. What World War III? Who's coming to the sides of Iran? Chinese are so happy that, you have used the entire US arsenal on Iran. China has made its own one belt, one road initiative. They are so happy about it. They are weaving the rest of the world. And people say China is a loser. That's what they're doing. They've sacrificed a pawn. Who can continue fighting?
Perfect. Perfect. So Ritesh, thank you so much for
Yep.
your time and always a pleasure having you over the show.
Yep. Thank